Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, POWIIS. So instead of getting Mr. Van Lim today, you get me, another Mr. Lim here. So I'll just like to ask the remaining students to take their seats and the doors to be closed. Thank you. So today, we're glad to have an invited guest who is a seasoned Model United Nations debater, but she's not going to be just presenting, but she might be debating and asking you to ask her some questions as well towards the end. So please do pay attention to her. She's going to be presenting about building character and confidence through Model United Nations and let you know why this program is one of a kind. She's Miss Winnie Chong, and she's currently the Deputy President of the Malaysian Youth Association for Diplomacy and Policy, MYADP, and is like the de facto chair of all the Malaysian MUN community. Without further ado, I'd like to invite Miss Winnie Chong.
Hello. Hey guys. How's everyone doing? Good? Good. Okay, brilliant. So has anyone here done Model UN before? Yes. Raise your hand. Just gotta show up. Okay, let's go down a notch. Have anyone heard of the United Nations before? Yes? Okay, brilliant. At least you guys know that. Okay, so what is Model UN? Model UN is basically a simulation of the UN itself, right? So what is it? So it's an educational simulation which focuses on diplomacy, international relationship, and the UN itself. So before we move on further, let me introduce myself, as I realized I forgot to do that. So my name is Uni, but most people call me Winnie instead. So as I've been introduced, I am the Deputy Head for MYDP, which stands for Malaysia's Youth Association for Diplomacy and Policy, sorry. So what I'm studying, what I'm doing right now is that I'm currently doing my Master's in Corporate Social Responsibility and Sustainability in Law, right? But as I will show, Model UN is not only for students who are interested in an art course, like international relations, or you want to become a lawyer, or if you're interested in economics. I know people who do Model UN when they're in biomat students who do Model UN. So it comes down to what you're really interested in. Right? The UN is really broad. We have WHO, the World Health Organization. I think our biomed students will fit in really well there. We have ECOSOC, which talks about economics and social welfare. Right? We have also, of course, the United Nations Security Council, where anyone who enjoys discussing war, conflict, and peace would fit in there as well. So how does it work? In Model UN, students represent an ambassador of a country that they are representing. So for example, you could be representing Donald Trump, you could be representing Kim Jong-un, or in most cases, you will be representing a government ambassador. So the main rule of law in Model UN is don't say stuff you know your country would not want you to say, right? Don't criticize your own country, for example, and don't say stuff you know your country would disagree with. And that's what we call foreign policy. That's the whole understanding of foreign policy itself. So you guys already know one thing, right? So they aim to solve different world problems. What are some world problems you guys know of today? Yes. You. Anyone who have raised your hand that I'm pointing to, yes, speak, please. Yes. What do you know?
So Ukrainian, like the Crimean dispute.
Yes, okay, so we've got Crimean and now the Ukraine, and yes, what about you?
About like the China's big the sky.
So China and Taiwan? Oh, the weather balloons, is it? From China? Okay, we have Taiwan. Any other global affairs? Yes. Poverty, yes. Anything else that you guys know of? Hong Kong? Yes? Global warming? Yes? Climate change, yes. Okay, but in Model UN, it's not just about that. No, we have a lot more than that. But in Model UN, we have these few 4 elements, which, if you guys do Model UN, you guys would know, but these are all what we call as mind jargons. Jargon definition means nonsense, actually. But so that's a direct translation. But in Model UN, we we associate jargon as terminology. So we have open-ended debate. So unlike a for versus against, right, as we normally see in debate, we have open-ended. In debate, we have 7 minutes to do our best. In conferences, we have 3 days, sometimes 5, depending on how big your conference is, right? We have draft resolution writing, which is basically policy paper writing. Or, another way to write it down is that it's more of a solution paper, right? Policy paper sounds a bit serious. Solution paper sounds more fun. Next, negotiation and mediation. So I think the best way to showcase this, right, is when you get into a disagreement with your parents. I believe most of us would have been there, done that, right? For negotiation and mediation, what we want to do is we want to at least calm down our parents and try to get them to hear our perception as well, our opinion, and see if we come to a compromise, right? If I cannot go out of the house until 10 o'clock, maybe I can at least go out till 8. Something along that line. But this is a transferable skill that we go, along the way. I've taught MUN before, and sad to say, they have actually tried this within their family. Yes, they had tried to see if the skills are really transferable. They say sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but it's work in progress, right? But I mean, within the family, it's just one takeaway. The bigger picture is you want to be able to get this type of transferable skills, post-graduation, when you go to university, when you start working, how to get yourself out of a very sticky situation, how to get yourself out of, how to give yourself more time, right? For example, when you are being grilled to the bone and you do not know how to reply, and you just go, So in Model UM, we train you to not say, we teach you to say something else instead, to make yourself look a bit more like you're in control when you're actually not, right? So lastly is of course solution brainstorming. Okay, I think this is very clearly on its own now. Okay, so some other transferable skills. So we have strategic leadership, right? You have to guide different countries. You have to be able to stand out. So for you to do that, you gotta have some charisma. You gotta be able to lead not only your own country that you're representing, but also others in the room. So we could have an official council. So the official country count that we have today is 193, if I'm not mistaken. That's been recognized. So imagine a room where there'll be more than you guys here today, and you've got to stand out. In an international conference, that's very likely going to be the case, right? So next, we have diplomacy and negotiation, that's covered. Critical thinking under pressure, yes, as I've said, how to avoid the part, right? Next, solution development through creativity. Let's be honest, if we can research the solution online, right, it will no longer be a problem that we talk about today. If we know the solution to, the weather balloons from China, per se, or if we know the solutions to poverty or to climate change, they will no longer be a global problem anymore. We would have resolved it already, right? So this is where you guys come in. You guys are the new generation to, what can we do in the future? What can we do more? What can we do next? Right? And this is where solution through creativity comes in. You guys can think about very interesting ones, as long as it's reasonably feasible, right? Next, we have problem analysis and understanding. So this is where you guys need to be able to do quick research. I know Manas who do research within minutes and do speech immediately after. I also know Manas who do their research prior to a conference on the day itself. Yes. So, procrastination and research skills on the spot is a skill that is a must in Model UN. It just comes with the experience. Next is professional writing skills. As I've said, policy paper writing is the final outcome of your conference, and that comes through formal languages very often. Right? So, professional writing skill will take place too. So yeah, so what do we talk about? Let's go back to this. Right? We have the past, the present, and the future. Very often we stick to the present now. Right? But on rare occasions, we do have historical topics. Right? For example, the situation, the Crimean War, that will be a historical topic that had happened already. World War II will be a historical topic. Present topics will be global warming, poverty. What about some future topics? Who can give a guess on what the future be like? Yes?
News.
News? Meal?
Yeah, foods.
Food?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm guessing the food crisis, is it our current food crisis? Yes, so that's in the near future, yeah?
Mental health, mental health improvement,
Okay, mental well-being.
less cause of anxiety, less cause of depression.
Okay, mental welfare. And I saw a hand there just now. Take over.
Robot invasion.
Robot invasions. Okay, cool. Yes. That can happen. Can someone give me a creative solution on how do we tackle that? Who wants to give a challenge and be like, okay, who wants to tackle the problem of a robotic world takeover? Yes, I see a hand at the back there. What do you want to say? Stop making robots. Do we agree to that? Do we want to stop making robots in the world today?
Yes.
No. Yes.
Yes.
See, we're already in disagreement here. Your solution's not going to work. You can't convince most of the room here.
Robot fight.
What is it? Baymax, is it? Okay. So, yeah, so we have a lot of other topics that happens. Normally, it's not just global warming or well-being. We also have threats against global security, like the Crimean War. We have, for example, other situations, nuclear warfare, the threat of World War III. We have global economy, so like, for example, cryptocurrency is an up-and-coming topic. Social welfare, like I said, mental well-being, environmental sustainability, everyone generally knows, and other scientific and technological advancements like your robotic takeover. We have AI discussion as well. The main problem, I think, that comes about on what model you want to address is where do we lack in addressing in the world today? So, for example, we don't have a law on outer space weapons, for example. Do you guys know much about space? Do you guys know that?
The moon is a demilitarized zone.
Sorry?
The moon is a demilitarized zone.
It's a demilitarized zone, yes, but only to mass destruction weapons. So I say no nukes and no hydrogen bombs, but if you have a satellite that's gonna destroy another satellite, that's perfectly okay, technically, gray line, right? We don't actually have a rule for that, unfortunately. So that's how outdated things can be, right? It takes time to pass international laws. And what you're discussing in Model UN, the final draft resolution, the solution document that you guys will eventually write, that will become international law. So you guys are all becoming lawyers by being a part of one, right? So my mind journey, what was it like, right? So I actually started my mind journey in 2017. The peak of Model UN in Malaysia was actually 1 year prior, it was 2016 based on my senior. But most mothers of my era, we go through something called trial by fire. In essence, I don't even have training. I've never done training before I entered Model UN, right? I did not have this talk about, what is this exposure prior. I just went through a council and be like, okay, now what do I do? So the first council I was in, I barely spoke once. I stood up, sit one line, sat down. That's about it. Yeah. And I think to emphasize a bit more on how futuristic things could be, it was a crisis council. I think those who have done one before, you guys would have heard of that term. But in essence, in Model UN for crisis, it just means that everything happens really fast, right? It happens as it goes. In a futuristic council, it means the unexpected happens. And the conclusion for my council was that the chairs, or in essence the hosts for the council, they were all robots. They were alien robots who were trying to determine whether or not planet Earth deserves a second chance. So all the rockets that's happening around the world was all designed by an outer force. So that was how futuristic it got. There was no solution, the world was destroyed. That was the conclusion of that conference. So moving on, I then started taking up more conferences, and by 2019, I went to the UK for my further studies, right? And it was there I started getting exposed to more international scenes, and it was there that I actually won my Best Delegate Award. So to mothers out there, anyone who wishes to pick up MUN, Best Delegate is the highest honor you can get in Model UN. I know some people who can get Best Delegate in their first conference. But, even for me, it took me 2 years, right? So it's never too late. It's a learning process. That's the most important part of the journey. Next, and then when I came back, in 2020, I became the president for University of Nottingham's UNU Society, which is the MUN Club. And it was there I started to work more on reviving an organization. So you can see how the skills transition, right? From knowing more about MUN to MUN skills to organizational skills, and now I'm the deputy head for MYODP. So my skill set has transitioned over the years. And generally in MUN, I would say there's 4 types, right? We need to keep things past it. So we have the lion type, we have the sheep type, we have the fairies, and we have the fox type, right? It does not mean that you could be one and not the other. You could be all of them, and that's perfectly fine. And you need all of them to be very well balanced in conference. So for lions, loud and charismatic, but sometimes no contact. For sheep, we have the pure follower type, and we have also the wolf in sheep's clothing type. So see what you are like. For fairies, we have the idealistic and we have the mediator. I'm more of the mediator. The idealistic would be someone who, for example, may have set the SDG goals, which we know is very, very difficult and challenging to reach. Tends to be more idealistic in nature. The fox is very simple. They can be very quiet through the whole conference, and then they will somehow win an award. Why? Because they've been drafting the draft resolution and the solution document in the background. They have been the one pulling the strings and everything in the background. They are the fox. They let the action do the talking, right? So which one are you? You know, give it a quick think. Or why would you want to take up MUN? Maybe you want to polish a bit more on one particular skill. And for me, I have joined MUN because I want to polish my mediation skills. So I became a fairy type predominantly, and a fox type because I'm solution oriented, right? But you guys could be joining for maybe because you guys want to be a P5 country like the US or China. So you guys could be more of a lion role, wouldn't it? So this is just a few pictures of my experiences. So I have been an event in collaboration with the EU, Ambassador 24, with the University of Malaya. So it was an EU accent simulation. We have been on the newspapers, yes, for MYODP, and been on the press, regional pictures, regional conferences. That is a picture of me and Swedish ambassador, if I'm not mistaken, and with the representatives from EU team. Right, EU ambassador team. That's me as a chair, and that's my team when I was reviving UN Youth in University of Nottingham. Right? Okay. Any questions for me on Model UN? Yes. Is it hard? It depends on what you enjoy. It was more fun for me. It was more thrilling. I won't say it's hard, it's thrilling. It's a learning experience that depends on what you like, right? You remember the mana card that I was talking about? So maybe for me, I would find it a bit more challenging to become a lion. Because I like to mediate conference, I like to mediate peace. I don't like to be instigated of that violence and the conflict, right? So it can be a bit more challenging for me. But it doesn't mean it's impossible, right? So, any other questions on Model UN that you guys would like to know about? Yes?
Which countries have you represented before?
So I represented, off the top of my head, I represented Luxembourg before, represented Bangladesh, represented Malaysia before actually, Indonesia. Also, I was once Winston Churchill in the Historical Council. So yeah, that's just off the top of my head. So yeah, it can be very varied experience. Anyone else? Any other questions? Yes.
How do you know what to say when you're in a country that you've never left?
Oh yes, so this is where your quick research skills comes in, right? Okay, so if you cannot find any information about the country, there's a skill called reading between the lines. Now, if you guys have heard about this phrase before, it goes a bit further than fun. Basically, if you cannot identify any information, for example, when I was representing Bangladesh, and this will forever be memorable, the topic was actually on semi-automatic weapons. I'm not sure if you guys know, but I was not familiar with what was Bangladesh policy on this. I did not even know Bangladesh even has a law on semi-automatic weapons. And I was right, I could not find anything on it. So, I go on the basis of reading between the lines. What can I assume based on what Bangladesh has done in the past? Or maybe what international treaties or laws have they signed up to? which would be a reflection of that. Right? I cannot find any direct information, however. So that is another way to go about it. Is there a question from here in the middle of the room just now? No? Oh yes, I see it behind. There we go. You have a question?
You agree that every country is selfish?
Every country has their own agenda, right? I think that is the whole emphasis of Model UN. We all represent our own country, and every country has the interests of their own. Whether or not it's selfish is, I think, something that's a bit arguable, depending on the country that you may be representing, and the topic, of course. Yes?
Any topics on Malaysian corruption?
Oh, okay. So, topic on such, right? Normally we have, now, whether or not that's a topic is up for debate, whether or not that is even allowed in the conference usually. But we have a council format which is called Dewan Rakyat. Anyone who knows Malaysian politics will know, it's basically parliament. So we have that as a model. That is unique and niche to only Malaysia now. So, yeah.
Right, okay, so I know you all have quite a lot of questions for Ms. Winnie. If you do have any further questions that you want to direct to her, unfortunately, due to time, could you all email it to me, please, and I will definitely communicate it to Ms. Winnie as soon as possible. So right now, I want you all to give a round of applause to Ms. Winnie. So thank you very much. We would like to dismiss the year. Thank